Welcome to the first episode of Foxwood Diaries, a series of programs, if you will, that will feature a very strange animal in the hospitality industry in Johannesburg called Foxwood House. Foxwood House comprises a theatre, a very bohemian community-based theatre, an old house, which we rather pretentiously from time to time call a manor house, but there is no manor because a manor house supposes a lord of the manor. We have modern, well-lit conference rooms. We have many rooms in gardens, all of them so totally different from each other. Nothing at Foxwood House is standardized. The reason why we created Foxwood House is based on personal experience. As a television producer, which is one of my professions, as a television producer, my life partner Jan and I often visited London 20 years ago in the 90s, between 1995 and the year 2000. The reason for our visit was always business, and we found that if you live in a hotel, be it a luxurious hotel or really a downscale little hotel, you have no identity that sets you apart from any other business person or visitor to London. As a result, it is quite difficult to inspire any confidence in yourself presenting any new ideas and any projects in London. So what we did was we became members of a club, quite a beautiful club, an iconic old club, the Sloane Club in London. And we found that living in a club and presenting our ideas and pitching our projects in a club generated more confidence in us. So when I started Foxwood House, I decided I'd like to create the same for visitors to Johannesburg. A place where they can achieve an interesting identity. A place where they have all the facilities that a business person requires. Eventually it became so artistic and so bohemian in many ways that we found we drew many more, a much larger section of the public than merely the business section. But still, business people and seminars and conferences are still the mainstay and form the basis of our business in Johannesburg. Foxwood House, the name, was created from my surname. I'm an Afrikaans speaker, and de Vos is my surname, which originally was a Dutch surname. So Vos is fox. And my partner Jan Groenewald is the second part of his surname. Wald is wood in German. So Foxwood House the name was created from our two surnames. We opened our doors in 2002, appropriately for a very large international conference. The idea behind Foxwood House was not only business, but it was also meant to be an expression of ourselves, to give the place an identity that will set it apart from any other place. As a result, in fact, it became so difficult to market Foxwood House because there was no comparative standard to measure it by. It has so many aspects that we require this visual vlog, this visual newsletter to explain to people what we're all about. And in the weeks and months ahead, we'll show you each aspect of Foxwood House. The swans, the theatre, the performers and the artists, many of them really top South African artists, the old historic building where I'm sitting at the moment, the conference centres, and of course my wonderful, beautiful dog, Simon, whom I love dearly. In the process, we'll also show you what we do and how we do it. So stay with us as we take you on a journey, on a weekly journey through Foxwood House. My life with Jan started on this property in the old house. The old house is a better term than the manor house. It's far less pretentious. And it started in this house before we had it declared a museum. It was a wonderful experience in moving into the old family, the Oates family space, because we kind of became almost one with their forefathers in this old house. We became one with their family, and many of the objects in this house still belong to the old owners, the Oates family. Mrs. Oates died in this house at the age of 98, many years ago, in 1989. When we moved into the house, we found that the foundations were sinking to such a degree, in fact, that one could see whether the weather was good or bad simply by looking through one of the huge cracks at the sky. We had the foundations, we had them lifted, and we were in the house when they were being lifted by engineers, and they literally raised them and closed the cracks by pillaring creating pillars underneath the old foundations. Today it is a very sturdy building for that very reason. There are still many artifacts from the Oates family. They often store things here, and we become the storage space for much of the history of a certain era and a certain lifestyle. As a lover and a passionate lover of history, I find it fascinating to be hosting people and showing them around on this property, and especially in the old house. So the plans were drawn up, we assume sometime after the building of the house, because at the time in Johannesburg, you built your place, you had it built, and then you handed in the plans to reflect what you've done. The plans are dated around 1926. The architect, in fact, was one of the architects who created old Johannesburg, Frank Fleming. And Frank created this house too. His partner was Herbert Baker. Now, Herbert Baker's name it's an iconic, very, very famous name in South Africa. He designed and built many of the government buildings. He went then to India, and he built built up the new capital in India. He was responsible for so much. Frank was his junior partner, and Frank was a bit more the fancy boy. You'll see from the front, the portico in front of the old front door, still the present front door, that he loved using pillars, and he was a bit more ornate, and if you would like to call it like that, City of London kind of ornate, with pillaring and the kind of housing that one still finds in places like Kensington in London. The history of this place is very important, but what is more important are the people who lived here. It was a fascinating family, the Oates family. My own family donated much of their history and historical artifacts to us. Jan's family donated a lot of their items. Some of it we inherited, most were given as gifts, and we simply received them. People like bringing here objects that they may not like to keep in their own homes, but they do know that it's of historic importance, so they store it here. So we've become the storage space, if you will, creating what one could grandly call a very eclectic environment of representing various styles in this old house. I think we'll take you on a tour also next time, showing you around and telling you more about my family and Jan's family. Two families who played quite a significant role in pre-colonial South Africa. So we take our history, as many of my countrymen do, back for many, many hundreds of years. And black and white find that they have a common destiny because they have a common history in this country. But more of that later. Thank you for joining us. And join us again next week for another episode, the second one in Foxwood Diaries. Thank you.